Hello, welcome to another Becoming a Modern Man. In this article we are looking at Blue-Red Delver, or Blue-Red Aggro, which has become an increasingly popular deck, actually the most popular deck, I believe, on numbers in Modern. So this is a list which I showed in the article. I think I've made a few compromises in terms of what fetch lands I've got and stuff, just in terms of what I had, as well as the sideboard, but generally it's a pretty standard list, I think. Got your Treasure Cruisers, Young Pyromancer, Snapcasters, Delvers, and Monastery Swiss Spears, along with a lot of cheap spells, cantrips, and some burn. And our first matchup is against Abzan mid-range deck, I suppose. It's very much like the Jund deck of old, but with Seed Rhinos taking its place. So let's just get underway and see how the match went. So this is our opener. Looks pretty sweet. Gonna be on the draw, but we've got Monastery Swiss Spear, Delver, Young Pyromancer, and 2 Serum Visions. So yeah, really like that hand. Opponent leads off with another Gun Tomb, Inquisitions us, and takes our Young Pyromancer. So a little unfortunate, but I still like the power level of our hand. With the Tarn, cracking at Steam Vents, and play our Monastery Swiss Spear, which allows us to get into for 1. I put it down to 16, and off, but I think we're better off just getting with the Swiss Spear and getting that haste attack. Next time we can play Serum Visions, which will pump the Swiss Spear. We need to attack for 2, and then we can drop a Delver after setting it up with the Serum Visions. Setting up the flip rather. One doesn't do anything on his second turn other than play a Windswept Heath, which is fine. Gonna Serum Vision, and Steam Vents and a Mana Leak, and we draw a Scalding Tarn. Don't really need the Steam Vents, so I'm just going to drop that to the bottom, and then obviously we put the Mana Leak on top, which also allows us to flip our Delver. So I'm going to attack for 2. Drop our Delver, one of the Delvers into play, and corrects the Windswept Heath and Abrupt Decays the Delver on end of turn. This isn't ideal, but doesn't really mount much pressure. So Serum Visions again looking to set up a Delver flip. Add Spell Snare and Thought Scour. We already have a Spell Snare, and I don't particularly want 2 in hand. I don't think it'd be that useful, and so I'm going to leave the Thought Scour on top and play a Delver. I could have kept Mana Leak up instead, which may or may not have been the better play, but I'll show you what happens anyway. Attack button down to 11 with the Swift Spear, pass the turn. He cracks Marsh Flats and then has a Siege Rhino, so yeah, definitely wished I'd had the Mana Leak up. But we're not in the worst position. He's tapped out. We know we're going to get our Delver flip, so we're going to be able to attack for 3 back. Obviously, not ideal because he's just gained 3, but we're not in the worst position. But yeah, overall, maybe we should have kept that Mana Leak up. So, we get the flip off the Thought Scour. Going to be able to attack for 3. Put our opponent down to 10. And we're just going to pass with Spell Snare and Mana Leak up, so we've got good coverage on any kind of spell he wants to play. He's going to attack for 4. And I mean, we're in pretty good position in terms of a race. We've got our Flip Delver and Monastery Swiss Spear, which can do more than 4 damage. Well, he's only attacking for 4, provided we can prevent him playing things, and obviously our counter spells give us that ability. Just play Goyf, which I'm just going to Spell Snare, and then he passes the turn. End of turn, get another Steam Vents out for a Fork Bolt, which isn't particularly useful at this point in time, but at the very least it can be a shock to the face, which I also could have Thought Scoured as well, just to get an extra point of damage in, but at this point I'm mostly scared about what he might play. I feel like we can win the race, so I think I was keeping up Snapcaster's Spell Snare just to avoid him playing any sort of like Goyf or Scavenging Ooze or anything like that would be a nuisance, because I feel like we're in pretty good shape here and he can't really afford to attack, particularly with our burn spells, but at the same time he's only holding back a Swift Spear by not attacking, so he's in a really bad position, which is why in some ways. So he didn't have an answer to the Delver attack, and kind of concedes. Obviously didn't find any answer to our flip Delver, and on 3 was dead next turn. So yeah, that went pretty well. Obviously maybe we should have got that counter up for the Siege Rhino, but I think playing the Delver worked out. It basically won us the game, so I don't feel too bad about that decision, and ultimately we were able to race the Siege Rhino, so things did not go so badly after all. Let's see if we can go on to game 2. Pull that up. Pardon me. So this is game 2. We are going to go on the draw once again. This is our hand. It's only got 1 land, obviously, which isn't ideal, but I've got 3 draw spells. I'm on the draw, and Young Pyromancer and Delver, very good cards. Young Pyromancer with Gataxian Probe is also a nice little combo, so I'm happy to keep this, even if it is just the 1 lander. May end up regretting it, but turns out we draw a land straight off the bat, but I mean 3 draw spells and I would be feeling a little unlucky. So go fetch up Steam Vents, drop our Delver of Secrets. That's a turn. It has a Goyf for us, which is fine, but not ideal, obviously. Don't end up flipping, I don't think. No, we draw a Blood Moon, that's off the top. I really want to get my Young Pyromancer down before he's got some sort of answers to it, and I want to use my Gataxian Probes to get some elementals straight off the bat. See, our opponent's got let's see if we can do that. There we go. His hand is double Scavenging Ooze, Path, Overground Tomb, and a Tech Edge. So it's a decent hand, but I feel like we can definitely beat that. We also see that Blood Moon is going to be pretty sweet if we can hit it. I mean, he's got basic planes, but he hasn't got any basic green sources, and that's going to hurt him quite a lot. So that's certainly something we want to keep in mind. Maybe next turn what we want to be doing is Blood Mooning if we happen to draw into the 3rd land. Both that's the Goyf, which is fine. We pass, which gives us our 3rd land, which is nice. Also means we can get a basic island, so that we aren't sort of mana screwed by our own Blood Moon. Big issue is that with all the non-basics you end up with loads of red and not enough access to blue mana, but with a couple of basics that's really all you need. Even 1 basic island is usually enough, but that's why we fetched up the basic island to begin with earlier actually, which I forgot to mention. So our opponent's got a very big Goyf, or an increasingly large Goyf, but and he's going to drop a Scavenging Ooze. So is that Delver flip here? No, we draw Swift Spear, so unfortunately our Delver doesn't flip. So we're not in a great place for attacking, but kind of think about my options here. Obviously there's quite a few different ways we could go with this. We could Delver, Serum Vision, set up both our Delvers to flip next turn, maybe bolt the Scavenging Ooze, maybe something with Vapor Snag. We could Vapor Snag the Scavenging Ooze, attack with our guys, maybe do something else. I mean, there's lots of different lines of play here. I kind of want to stick the Blood Moon. It's going to be pretty brutal for him. It means he won't be able to activate his Scavenging Ooze, and the Scavenging Ooze that's currently in his hand is going to be stuck in his hand. and he's just not going to be able to replay it. So I decided to go with the Blood Moon plan. I definitely can see other lines of play which may or may not be better, but I think that works out pretty nicely. Just means that he's going to have a really difficult time. We know his hand is Tech Edge, Scavenging Ooze, and one of the card. Also means he can't like Siege Rhino us next turn, which would be pretty brutal. So I think that's the right play overall. Contacts with both his guys. I'm happy trading off my 2 tokens for a Scavenging Ooze. I do have a Bolt, so maybe that wasn't the right thing to do, but I think that that's fine by me. So I won't drop. We finally flip our Delver off a Forked Bolt. Not the ideal card we want to see, but fine. Play Monstrous and Serum Visions. We see Bolt and Snapcaster on top. I put Bolt and then Snapcaster on top. I was mainly thinking about flipping this second Delver. I don't know if that was the right order to put things in, but either way, having Burn and a Snapcaster Bolt, a Snapcaster is pretty sweet, and I think puts us in pretty good shape here. Going to be able to attack 5 now, and we can keep up a Vapor Snag as well as a Bolt, which seems pretty good. Opponent attacks 4. I decided to take it. That's maybe a little risky, but our opponent, being Abzan rather than Jund, doesn't have access to burn spells and things that can punish us too hard for that. Obviously the other thing you would want to think about when playing against Abzan is that if you're at 3 life, you're a Siege Rhino away from just being killed, but thanks to Blood Moon, there's no way he's playing a Siege Rhino, and obviously Abrupt Decay is turned off by the fact that he doesn't have a black or a green source, so I don't have to worry about him blowing up by Blood Moon and then dropping a Siege Rhino, so I decided to take that. Think about it now, and what I didn't really think about is that if as soon as I bounce his Vapor Snag, he can't actually replay the Goyf, so maybe bouncing the Goyf with the Vapor Snag there would have been fine, if not good, but I think we were okay taking that damage just because I don't see any way that I get punished for that too badly. I bolt him on end of turn. Maybe I should just bolt him main phase because then I get an extra point off my Swift Spear, but I like this. I mean, I think we've got him pretty close to dead, so that seems like a fine setup to me. I'll be able to attack for 4 here, then to 6, and then I can play a Delver. Then I've got Snapcaster Bolt as well as that. And then we draw a Bolt next turn, so even if he kills off all our creatures somehow, we are still in fine shape. Opponent paths the Delver, so in theory has attack for lethal here, but obviously we have the Vapor Snag, which makes that a moot point. Additionally, we could have Snapcaster bolted and locked with the Snapcaster to prevent a lethal attack as well. We don't have to worry because he's tapped his plains, so all he's got is mountains and unplayable cards in his hand, so this is a nice, easy decision. But I mean, we could have maybe played that a bit different to make it a little bit safer on our half, but ultimately this was sufficient, and bouncing the Goyf back to his hand is enough to give us the win. So yeah, went pretty well. Obviously a lot of decisions to be made and lots of things to think about in playing this matchup, but it seems like a fairly good matchup. I think we've got some good answers. Obviously you've got to worry about them overpowering you with things like Goyf, and Siege Rhino is obviously pretty can be pretty brutal, but you just got to play to your strengths and try and play around theirs. So ultimately worked out pretty well for us in this one anyway.